Maui really does offer such a wide range of terrain for road cyclists. One minute you can be in the jungle, and the next you are riding along a moonscape on the side of Haleakalā. You will never see greater scenery from the saddle of your bike than on the island of Maui. Maui is an absolute rider's paradise. The riding on Maui is hands down some of the most beautiful riding in the world. So here are some of my favorite rides on Maui for 2026. So one of my all-time favorite rides on Maui is the ride on the Hana Highway. This is a ride you can start from Paia and ride all the way to Hana. Traditionally, Catherine and I have started this ride at the Jaws General Store, and we ride out to the Keanae Peninsula and back again. So, as I said, the ride that we traditionally do out to Keanae Peninsula is an out and back ride of between 30 to 35 miles, or roughly 48 to 56 kilometers. The elevation gain is modest, around 1,500 to 2,000 feet, or 460 to 610 meters. It's mostly rolling terrain. You will enjoy the endless twists and turns of the highway and short, punchy climbs. If you want to shorten the ride, as I say, you can start from the Jaws General Store rather than in Paia. It skips some of the busier, earlier sections, but keeps all the lush rainforest, ocean cliffs, and famous one-lane bridges. There are a couple of things you want to know if you do consider this ride. The road is narrow with many blind corners. Traffic builds late in the morning, so riding early is really important. Expect wet conditions and rainforest showers. But honestly, with the views like this, you won't mind slowing down on the Hana Highway. Another really favorite ride of mine is the West Maui Loop. Again, like the Hana Highway, this is a ride you can do as an out and back, or you can ride around the entire west end of Maui. Traditionally, Catherine and I started this ride in Lahaina. Obviously, that's no longer really an option. You could just as easily start this ride from Kapalua or Ka'anapali. Again, you could ride this as an out and back. Sometimes Catherine and I have simply ridden out to Kahakaloa and then turned around and returned to our starting point.
Keep going.
I'm coming your side.
Okay. Woo!
Had to push up, and even that was hard. Oh well.
Yeah, I have to admit, it's a tough climb. Hard on the old body. Just not getting any younger. Just keeps getting harder and harder. The full West Maui Loop is roughly 60 miles, or about 97 kilometers, with about 4,400 feet or 1,340 meters of elevation gain. Again, some of the hills on this route are challenging. We've traditionally started, as I say, in Lahaina, but you can also begin in Kapalua or Keanae, depending on where you are staying. You can ride the entire loop or do a shorter out and back for 20 to 40 miles. That's roughly 32 or 64 kilometers, with again about 1,500 to 3,000 feet of climbing. Parts of the loop are extremely narrow, especially the road down into Haleakalā, with rough shoulders and tight cliffside turns. Winds can be strong on occasion, just be aware of that. Bring plenty of water. Services are sparse once you leave the towns behind. You are definitely going to want to stop at Lorraine's for banana bread and a Coke in Haleakalā. The ocean views on this ride are amazing. The dramatic coastline and the feeling of riding on the edge of the island is indescribable. There really is nothing else like it on the island. So we are in Haleakalā right now. No trip around the West Maui Loop would be complete without a visit to Lorraine's. Some banana bread. The next ride that I want to talk about is a ride that we've only ever done once, but it was an absolutely amazing experience. We rode from Kula to Hana. So this is on the east end of Maui. This is a part of Maui that very few tourists ever get to see, and certainly very few people ever do this on a bike. But if you have the fitness, this is definitely a ride to consider. Depending on your exact route, this ride is roughly 60 miles or 90 kilometers with about 2,000 feet of climbing or 500, 600 meters of climbing, even though the route does trend downhill overall. This is a ride that requires a little bit of planning because it's not a loop. You'll need a shuttle or a pickup arranged in Hana, or as we did, we spent the night in Hana and then rode the next day from Hana to Paia. What makes this ride special is the variety. You start in cool upcountry farmland, then drop into dense tropical rainforest, and finish in one of the quietest, most beautiful corners of the island. In between that, you'll ride on some fairly almost desolate terrain.
Heat's getting me.
Some things you want to remember: services are limited. Bring food and plenty of water. There really is nothing in between Kula and Hana. The roads do get narrow and windy the closer you get to Hana. The weather can change very quickly and wind can be a challenge. But if you're looking for something different and off the beaten path, this is a phenomenal ride. We completed this ride on our road bikes, even though some of the terrain can be quite challenging. As long as you take your time, you shouldn't have any difficulty with any road bike. First of all, where are we right now?
We're not really sure. No, we're pretty close to Hana, and we're at Tony's place, getting our dinner. It's about, 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We've just ridden from Kula, so we've done about 65, 70K.
It's a tougher ride than I thought it would be. Having that little extra weight on the back of the bike makes a bit of a difference. This has got to be one of the most spectacular rides. The West Maui Loop.
I second that. Fabulous.
The West Maui Loop is a spectacular ride, but this is another level. The final ride that I want to talk about is, again, a ride I've only ever done once, but I consider it a crowning achievement. This is a ride up Haleakalā, the volcano on Maui.
So preparing for your ride, Jer, how are you doing?
Okay.
Tell me again.
Today I am riding up what Strava is calling the longest paved climb in the world. This is a ride that most people start in Paia at sea level and ride to the very top of Haleakalā. This is definitely not a ride for the faint of heart. Strava refers to this as the longest paved hill climb in the world. The climb itself is about 36 miles or 58 kilometers from sea level to the summit at just over 10,000 feet or 3,000 meters. If you're riding back down to your start point, the round trip distance is 72 miles or 116 kilometers. I was fortunate that Catherine agreed to drive the support vehicle, and she rode the last 3,000 meters of the climb with me to the top of the mountain. This is a serious test. The grade is steady, the air gets thin, and the weather can change dramatically. You can start in Paia in tropical heat and near freezing temperatures at the summit of Haleakalā. There are some important things to remember. Bring layers, especially gloves and a wind jacket for the descent. There are long stretches without water, so again, you want to plan ahead. I was fortunate that Catherine was carrying all the water that I needed and all of the nutrition that I needed. You want to start early in the morning in order to avoid the heat and traffic. Good gearing is really important. This is a grueling climb. But if you're prepared, the views and the sense of achievement and the feeling of climbing above the clouds makes this one of the most iconic rides anywhere on Earth.
Good job, Jer.
It is a challenging ride, that's for sure.
And you've arrived, Jer. Congratulations.
That is hands down the toughest ride I've But if I can do it, most people can probably do it. For those of you that are considering a trip to Maui, it is well worth looking into either renting a bike while you're there or bringing your own bikes. Maui is an absolute rider's paradise.